Well, Detroit Lions fans, we've got some breaking news as of about 1:30 this afternoon that Detroit has announced that they have now activated James Houston off injured reserve. As we know that Houston was injured back around September 17th, suffering a fractured fibula in week 2. Houston is a 6th-round pick, 2022. Had an amazing burst onto the scene the second half of last season. Hasn't been able to do much this season, obviously recovering from this injury. But now the Lions have brought him back. I was real hesitant, if you watched the morning show today, that bringing Houston back would be a good move because he hasn't played with the team in, a dozen weeks or longer. But his 21-day practice window was expiring as of yesterday. So the news is that he's back, and he says he's ready to get out there. He mentioned that with David Burkett, that it looks like fun. They're winning, and the whole city is behind them. So I want to get out there. And I think that, this is a huge boost if he can affect the game in a positive way. In a coordinating move, the Lions have released outside linebacker Julian Okwara. Big move, but, Julian hasn't had the greatest season yet either. He really hasn't done much, with the Lions. He comes and goes in spurts. So hopefully that James Houston can give us the burst that we're looking for and really help us on the edge, because we need a pass rush to help out our defensive backs so that they can stay just a little bit more sticky, a little bit longer to affect the pass game. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Now, this does not mean that he's going to play a ton this game. What it does mean is he'll be on the roster. Sorry, I got a little bit of a frog in my throat, as my grandfather would say. Like I was saying, it doesn't mean that he's going to get a ton of snaps. It just means that he's going to be active. He'll be out there with the guys, and who knows? I mean, I think he could still be a healthy scratch before the game. I'm not saying that'll happen either, but the possibility is always there that they want him up. They want him with the team, because should they win this week, that gives him an opportunity to play the next week as well. With the Lions losing out on Bruce Irvin, and Bruce Irvin is still attached to the 53-man roster for the Dolphins until the season comes to a close, unless the Dolphins would release him, which would just be kind of weird. They won't be able to bring him back, and there's really not much going on, in the free agency world right now for good defensive ends. But look, he's a ball of fire. James Houston has a really unique bend, phenomenal first step, get off. He's quick. He's got a different level of pass rush moves. And this is perfect timing by Dan Campbell, because now Tampa Bay, I'm sure that they've gone back and looked at last year's tape, but they probably were not expecting, a whole lot out of Houston this week, or to have to worry about the other side of the line. And as I went over this morning, their offensive line is good on the bookends. Tristan Wirfs, by far the best tackle, that they have, and one of the best in the league. But in the interior of this offensive line for Tampa Bay, they're pretty weak, and they really don't do well in the run game or the pass blocking schemes. So maybe we see an option where Houston, he's on the outside, and we rotate Aiden Hutchinson on the inside, and see if we can't get some, north-south push through the middle, which we need to get to Baker this weekend. So we jump into the chat, see what everyone's got to say. Man, you guys are all bouncing in. Look at that. Lone Wolf says he's back. John Pierce says, hey, good afternoon. John Gassage says, about time. John Pierce says, nice. Ed W, good news. Ed W says, the handling of players this season has been weird. Hasn't it, though? I mean, it's almost just been like a fine orchestra, right? I mean, he is just up there maestroing, these guys back to health and getting them back on the field. Dan Campbell, that is. And shout out to the training staff, man. They've done an excellent job with our guys this season. I mean, just look at the work they did with Sam Laporta last week and getting him back to the field. And especially, an injury like that can go either direction really quickly. So shout out to all them. John Pierce says starting him slowly. I expect that. I mean, look, if he gets in for 25% of the snaps, I think that I would be surprised personally because that's a lot of snaps to come back to, especially in a playoff game. Everyone's amped up. It's a different level. You know, you can take your best matchup of the season, multiply that 2 or 3 times, and that's the kind of energy these guys are playing with. Houston's got fresh legs. You know, he's been practicing now for 3 weeks. He's been, off to the side practicing for a while. So it'll be nice to see, a different burst coming in this weekend if he gets into the game. So Tyrion FN, Julian Okora was let go. Now you guys know how I think, or at least some of you guys do that listen to me. I'm kind of old school. It's like I want to see the guys get into, a regular game, get acclimated with the team again, kind of get around the guys in a, game type situation before I would want to throw them to the wolves in a playoff game. Dan Campbell has a different mindset. He must feel really comfortable with James Houston's progress, and if he feels comfortable, I feel comfortable because Dan Campbell's all about the details. And if the details are right in this situation, then it must be right for James Houston to get onto the field. So glad that he's back. We're going to need him. I hope he does come back next season because this is the last of his contract for this season. And he'll be I believe, an exclusive rights free agent come, new league year here in a couple of months. But I'd love to see him come back. I think he could be a player that comes back on a relatively inexpensive deal that still has so much upside. James Houston was my favorite defensive end last year just because of his story, how well he played in the second half of the season when he got in, and what he was able to help this team produce. I mean, I felt like he was that kick that we needed in the second half last year and why our defense really started playing really well. I mean, really, really well. Dimitri Stewart says, how do you think he's going to play? I was kind of saying that a little bit earlier. I don't know. I think if I had to roll the dice or if I was a betting man on this, I would say that I don't know, man. This is a tough one because part of me wants to say he's going to go in, he's going to get a sack, he's going to affect the game. Like that's the optimism. But the realist inside me would tell you that I think he's going to be marginally effective, but I hope I'm wrong. And the only reason why I say that is because he hasn't played in a game in more than a dozen weeks, and he definitely has never played in a playoff situation. I hope I'm totally wrong. I want to be wrong. I want him to get in there and get after the quarterback because that's what he does. But quite honestly, man, I mean, he's a different breed. This dude is just different. There's just something about him. And if you go back and watch, any of the old Prime videos, not the current one, but the one when he was at Jackson State and Deion Sanders is telling him, look, you're not a linebacker, you're a defensive end. And if you just listen to us, you'll make it to the next level. Now, that's not verbatim. That's kind of the Cliff Notes version of what was said. Houston wanted no part of it. And then he listened, and then he was drafted. It just shows like he's willing to work for it. He went against the grain in the beginning, but he was willing to work for it. I think that he's taken that the next level. And in the NFL, he was willing to work for it. It took him a minute to get on the field with the Detroit Lions, but he was working and working and working. And finally, the offensive line was like, look, you've got to get this dude in the game. And they did. And what happens? I think he had 2 sacks his first game. So he could do it again. That's why I'm cautiously optimistic. Like he can go in either direction. He could come in and bust loose and get a couple of sacks, or he could be marginally effective and just play, a good game. As long as he doesn't leave us exposed, that's the only thing that I care about, is that he just doesn't leave us exposed. He can't be any worse than what we've had on the right side. So just don't leave us exposed. As long as, AG maybe brings in that extra defender like we have been in the nickel package and maybe back him up with Branch or CJ Gardner, I think that would be a wise move. But I'm not the one calling the plays. So we'll see what happens. So yeah, Muggins 29-29. Hutch needs him in a big way. He definitely needs to take the pressure off of Hutch, because it doesn't matter how well Hutch is playing. He's still getting held a lot. And that's another thing that I don't really dive deep into is there's other guys out there that are doing it, that are getting held. There's other guys that are out there that are doing it, that are getting double teamed. Hutchinson just doesn't have another guy that's commanding anything. And I think that he plays better when he has someone on the other side that is commanding a little bit of attention. It's not really a snide remark or, anything, or a degrading comment towards Hutch. It's just more of that's just how he plays. He relies on a team. Nothing wrong with that. It's just we don't have everybody yet. We're missing a few pieces. And once we have those pieces, that's when you're going to see Hutch he's going to take off straight to the moon. So Gajan says, all we need is for Houston to win 30% of the time, and he's a huge upgrade. 30% is a huge number. I think Hutchinson's right around 21% right now. 30% would be huge. That'd be a big game. Stephen King says, even if Houston does enough to distract some of the O-line and take some pressure off of Hutch and the interior, that could be enough. Glad he's back. Great take, Stephen. I believe in that too, that it's just do enough, right? Just do a little bit and it will affect, the rest of the defense. It's a game of inches, right? It's a game of marginal aptitude on the field and what these guys can present by disguising things or, just being a decoy, like we were hoping Sam Laporta was going to be last weekend. It worked. And Sam Laporta did just enough to help this team win. James Houston can do the same thing. So I'm looking forward to big things from him this weekend. I hope that he does have a great game, but more importantly, we got to win it. Like Derek said this morning, man, we don't have another option. The table is set for these Lions right now. It can't be a more perfect situation. Whether we take on the 49ers or the Packers in the next game, should we get through this game, I'm comfortable with either. I think that the Packers are the tougher team, but we know them. And I think that they're beatable. We won't lose, a second time to them. We lost in Thanksgiving. We wouldn't lose this time around. So, all right. I hope you all enjoyed this little segment on James Houston. And my voice is kind of back, so I'm going to try to get back to some more content here. We'll be releasing some videos from this morning's episode on Rise and Grind Morning Show. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check on @Rocked On Syndicate. That's the new morning show that airs at 8:30 a.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Myself and Derek with Syndicate Sports Brand. We started a morning show that will develop into 5 days a week soon. It just is going to take a little bit of time. But go ahead, check it out, subscribe. We're going to be doing a multi-stream to a few different channels temporarily, and then everything will be put on that channel once we get everything rolling. So, all right, y'all. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Go Detroit Lions, go One Pride, and let's go get this win, man. The buck stops here. Don't forget your blue lights. Go get you a blue light. Put it in your, out front in your porch or whatever, your back deck. Let's light up the city. Let's light up the country. Let's get the blue out going. All right, y'all. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, Tyrion, what'd you say? I'm sorry, buddy. Tyrion said now that we have some pressure, hopefully Baker won't have accurate throws that get picked off. Hey, that's a great point. Yeah, I'll even throw it up on the screen. Sorry, I didn't see it, bud. It is a great point. We need that. We need that one. All right, Tyrion, FN, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. We'll see y'all next time on Rock Down Podcast Network. Go Rock Down Detroit Lions. Take care. Bye-bye.